Welcome to Personal Mastery Training. I'm your host, Alvin Brown, former world class athlete turned entrepreneur and consultant. Join us as we learn from guests who have conquered their inner battles and share their journeys to success. Get ready for inspirational masterclasses and thought provoking strategy sessions to fuel your path to personal mastery. Let's dive in. Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of Personal Mastery Training, The Alliance. Today, the Alliance, we have two. We're going to coordinate and collaborate on a conversation that's, I think it's a pertinent, as always, these are life conversations. These are conversations that I think we should all have, with each other and with your close people. These are, there's something I admired about philosophers back in the day. They would touch on things, dive deep into things, and without looking for real answers. Nobody, Ray or I today it's Raymond and I. Ray or I do not sit on this podcast and claim to have answers for you. All we have are conversations that we want you to have and elaborate and dive deep and dissect and, debate whether we're right or wrong. That's okay. All we want to do is start conversations. I think today's world is to shut people up. I don't think that leads to any resolution. It's to have conversations so you can dissect and see other people's side and see, debate properly, not argue, but dissect conversation. So in today's episode, we want to talk about this idea. So I'll preview it by saying this. And it's for me, it's being vulnerable is a thing, right? Um, with my personal life because it's my personal life and I live it the way I live it. And I'm not always looking for someone's opinion on my personal life because that's the way I live it. So I usually keep that pretty private. So recently, I've been away, as if some of the listeners there, and I've been away because I've been working with my son. He's gone through, he developed cancer 4 years ago, and he battled gallantly, so well. Um, if you're going to go through something like that, I think, my personal opinion, I think he did it the best way anyone could ever do that because he lived, we laughed, right? We spent 11 weeks in the ICU. And the the things I can tell you about what he went through is incredible. You can actually go and read a little bit about having the cancer that he had. He had a very rare form, rhabdomyosarcoma, very aggressive. And this thing, it's a beast. It just attacks everything it can, and it's relentless. But so was he. And it's funny. This is something that a parent would never want to do, would never want to write a eulogy for their child. But unfortunately, I had to write one. And in the eulogy, part of it I said was, he loved storm chasing. He was a huge storm chaser. But here's the thing, the storm came to him, meaning he had something they call a ventricular tachycardia, VT, ventricular tachycardia. And there's a form of it where they call it a VT storm, where there's a repeated, and that's where it can lead to cardiac arrest. So he had that, and so funny enough, the storm came to him. He lived to chase the storm, well, the storm came to him, and he battled that. He battled it really well. So it's an irony, I you know. So here's the theme of this podcast. When he lost the battle on his terms on March 6th, 2025. And so a lot of people say, wow, how can you even talk about this? I couldn't even talk about it. And, people are looking at it as a brave act and so on and so on. And so, and people say to me, Alvin, you'll grieve in your own way.
And it's funny how I find we are funny as humans. The way I'm showing up now and I'm able to talk about it, people are wondering, oh, you're almost encouraging me to cry or to break down or to do. They don't understand how I'm able to talk about it because my family is one of my highest values, and you can see it. It's not just lip service. If you follow my life and get close, you can see my family is. I make a lot of decisions based on my family. So, how can you show up like this? Shouldn't you be? Aren't you going to take a month off, 2 months, and oh, it's going to hit you at some point, it's going to hit you. And I'm okay if it hits me. But here's the thing. The reason why I can show up like this is I was speaking to one of my clients, and she's gone through major suffering, major trauma, major with her husband. She lost her husband in a car accident in 1997, and she was in the car with him, and then her son, and then her mom, and she's gone through a ton. And so she's gone to grief counseling. So her and I talk often, and she said, Alvin, you know what I noticed when I took grief counseling? Those who suffer, not just go through grief. We're all going to go through grief, the five stages and so on. We're all going to go through grief. But suffering, the dark place, those who go there and stay there are those who typically, it's not for everyone. I'm not going to generalize here, but typically it's because they have regret. There's things I didn't do. There's things I didn't say. There's things I left undone. There's things I did that I'm not proud of. And now they're gone. That person's gone, or you didn't have that closure. See, the reason I can show up like this is I can't think of any part of his life that I didn't do my best to show up for. Are there no there's no perfection. So I'm not aiming for perfect. But was I there the best and showed the best I could with the best I could do at that time? Absolutely. I was there right from birth to right to his brave fight. I was there. So I believe, and I don't know what's coming around the corner. Maybe I'll be hit by something on a special event moment coming. I don't know, but I'm okay with it. So I'm not out here saying, you know, it's never gonna happen and I'm brave. I'm not trying to impress anyone. I'm just being the way I am. Because I was wondering too, why am I not even more phased? Well, I think when I think back and I search my soul, and I had the here's another blessing I had. A year prior or more, a year and a bit, when the cancer went to his heart space, the connective tissue around his heart, the pericardium, and it blocked the artery. We actually thought that would have been the time. So at that time, we had closure. We had moments to talk. He and I, and he spoke to his siblings and his mom and everyone, and had that talk, the talk, because he thought that was the time. So we had chances and nights when I was in a ICU with him. We had late nights. We didn't sleep, neither did I. We chat all night. So, closure. So how does this affect you? And it's what Ray and I are going to talk about. The idea that if if one of the potential secrets to going through grief is to not have regrets, how can we fix that now in this present moment? That's what we're going to have a conversation about. How can we soften the inevitable? Life doesn't promise you anything. It doesn't promise you a damn thing. It's not the movie. This is not a movie. This is real. How can we soften that? I'm not talking about eliminate it. This is not about eliminating grief. Soften it so you can actually get through it because we have life to live after any loss. So how can we soften it? So for there, I'll leave it there because I want to bring Ray in here and put his input, and I'll pass it over to Ray.
That's That's somewhere where we definitely align when it comes to family. You know, as a very, very uh, let's say directing value into our lives. Um, as you were talking, I was taking notes, I was listening, I was looking to understand as much as possible, and I went to Google to simply ask, what is regret exactly? What is regret? What is the genesis of regret? Regret? Where does that come from? And here's what came out. I'd like to share it with everyone. It says that the genesis of regret comes from disappointment, which arises when we perceive a gap between our expectations or desires and the outcome that we experience. Okay. Um, in life, we all have expectations. Okay. We all have expectations. Oftentimes, our expectations may be realistic, they may be unrealistic uh, in accordance to the way that we live our lives. Okay, because the way that we live our lives uh, will determine how we perceive whatever outcome comes in the end. Okay, it goes a little bit deeper. It said that what is regret exactly is this feeling of loss, unmet potential, or missed opportunity. You know, Alvin is very private. And the fact that he's being vulnerable and opening like that, it's gonna give an into how this man thinks and really what we're trying to talk about here. Um, if you live in a way, okay, that you want to bite into life as much as possible, that you want to maximize the present moment, that you want to find fulfillment, understanding, joy, whatever it is, okay? Whatever it is, you will not always win, okay? Because we cannot control that. We can only control what we can control. But if you show up in life in such a way, okay, in such a way, whether something happens the way that you expected it or not, you haven't, and let me mark my words, I'm not saying you haven't lost anything. That's not true, okay? But you've met your potential in this situation. You haven't missed an opportunity because you tried to make the most of the ones that you had or that you have every single day. And in the end, that's what truly matters, right? That's what truly matters is, are we making the most of right now? Or are we always worried about the past, being disappointed in the past, in the opportunities we missed, the things we left on the table in a way that is preventing us from living right now? Or are we thinking about the future and being worried and being afraid, again, in a way that's preventing us from making the most of right now? So there's this wisdom from Mary Carey, okay, that I love and that I'm gonna share with you all too, because in 2025, I always have like one subject of study for my year. Okay, a few years back it was patience. I really tried to just diving on one thing, and this year was fear. It was fear this year. And here's what Mary Curry says about this. She says, "Nothing in life is to be feared. It is only to be understood. Now is the time to understand more so that we may fear less." Okay. Oftentimes, disappointment, loss, unmet potential also comes from fear. Okay. Maybe we did something we weren't proud about, or we weren't dealt all the right cards. And through fear, we didn't want to have the conversation. Okay, we didn't want to be even in the situation. If you see a loved one suffering, okay, suffering, oftentimes, if you love them, you don't want to see that. Okay, you don't want to see that. You may want to remove yourself, from that situation, but that's also a moment lost. Or you can have the courage to be there, okay? To be there and understand whatever there is to understand in this moment. So that's how I see life, really. And the more and more I face my fear, instead of running away or trying to get away, it's just a shift of perspective where, okay, there's something that I need to understand, you know, and having better understanding will take away fears most of the time and brings you back to this present moment where there is always light, even in the darkness. You know, if we know where to look and we understand the fabric of this world and how our minds work and how our interactions are with others, and in whatever situation there's good to be found, there's light to be found. And whenever we live in life, in light, it's difficult to have regret. You know, it's difficult to have regret. I'm not saying that some days are not harder than others, but it's difficult to not see how great this life is and beautiful it is, and make the most of it while we're here and while we have this gift. Because as easily as it's been given, it can be taken away. And that's another lesson that we tend to forget. Okay, we tend to forget when we put things to the next day and the next day. When you may be in a relationship, you may have children, you may have great friends that are right there. Okay, that are right there. And because we're this, because we're that, we decide, oh, in this present moment, well, I'm not gonna make the most of that. It's just a matter of perspective, you know. But ultimately, let's look to understand more. And through that understanding, we can live more and we can always find light. And with that, I'll pass the mic.
Yeah, great, great review, great input. And so that leads in so many great points there. Regret, the genesis comes from disappointment. My summary is a gap between expectations and reality. And when you're even looking at that, there's that great wisdom that says, see things as they are, not worse than they are, or better. Just see things as they are, and then make them better. So expectations, the thief of joy, they say sometimes, right? Comparison expectations. They're the two thieves of joy. Because sometimes you expect somebody to show up a certain way and they don't because we've put them on this pedestal. Maybe that's an issue today in today's world with celebrities now being outed and so on. Just yesterday, I was looking at social media and someone approached a basketball player, DeMar DeRozan, apparently for something, who knows what, but he wasn't feeling it and retaliated on this person getting into his space, his personal space. And, they say, don't meet your hero was the headline. But they forget that this person needs autonomy as well. I know with the amount of money they get paid, that's part of the deal, but they are humans and they react. That person had an expectation, I gather, and it wasn't met. But yeah, look at what you did. So yeah, I can see where that regret can lead to that. You know, so I think it's being tempering your expectations slightly to meet reality, and then make it better. Just keep on evolving it. Um, Loss, unmet potential, unfinished business in a way. Yeah, that's when we start to feel, when we feel a sense of loss. That word, again, setting ourselves up. We expected the person to be like this, or the marriage to last, or your partner to be here, or your child not to. This is where that's a tough one because, again, we expect no parent. It's not supposed to work that way. But in Canada, they have sick kids, and I know in the US they have Shriners, I think, or uh, I see it on TV all the time. Anyways, in every country, they do have children's hospital. Just go there and you really realize that life is not the storybook, which is why you have to, again, embrace. This is something I've been saying for a long time to people. Sometimes, when you go to a funeral for someone, or say someone unexpectedly, you didn't expect them to pass and they do, and you all of a sudden, oh, guess why you got to live your life. That's why you got to live your life fully and love on. We lip service, we say it, but we don't actually do it. It lasts for so long, and you go to the funeral of someone and you say, man, I'm going to go out and live my life. I'm going to do everything. Within no time, it's no different than going to the Tony Robbins concert, or somebody's motivational, read a book, see a movie, and you're ready to go kick it, and all of a sudden it's back to the same grind again. Again, we're setting these big, large, overwhelming, and not living in the moment. Not living, making, most of life. So are we making most of right now, Ray said, the present moment? See, I love setting goals. Absolutely. I wouldn't be where I am today without goal setting. Setting my goals from, the age of 20. I knew what I didn't want and I set my goals to go for it. But guess what? I was mindful, and luckily, maybe I was lucky to develop this skill, but I was also mindful of enjoying what I have in front of me while I'm aiming for the mountaintop. I was also stopping and loving. So at any moment, I could be taken off the climb, and I would have enjoyed it, and I am enjoying it. I'm not living in the gap as from Dan Sullivan, where, oh, shoulda, coulda, woulda, I made a million, but now I got to go for two, and no, I'm always grateful and happy. There's no regret for me going, oh, I didn't do this, I didn't do that, I didn't. There's a lot of things that looking back, I could paint it better, and the end could be a lot better. But am I regretful? No, because in the present moment, I'm making the right moves for me. And so that's the thing, is in this present moment, can we make the right moves for me, for you? But you got to figure out what that is and enjoy wherever you are right now. Be grateful for it. I don't care if your bank account you're right at the line. I don't care if I just met somebody who lost 195 I did a run last week, which I will talk about another time. But I met this person who he lost 190 pounds, I believe, and he's changed his life around. He sold his business. Now he's helping other people to go through this. See, so I don't care where you are right now in your life. You may not have what you want right now. You may not have the body, the relationship, the marriage, the money, but first thing I want you to do is to, one, be grateful that you're here, because you can change, you can do anything if you're embracing what you have right now and being grateful for it. And then once you're grateful for what you have right now, start making plans. Love where you are right now. It may not be ideal, but guess what? A few decisions that weren't in your favor led you to where you are today. And maybe some unfortunate circumstances led you to where you are today. But we always have an option to make plans and do something to change it. Especially if you're able to listen to a podcast. That means you must have access to internet. That means you must have access to a phone to listen to it. That means you have an opportunity. There's people who have none of that. So if you're listening to this, you have an opportunity. I'm absolutely certain. So how do you live right now? Well, how do you let go of the past? Well, be grateful for what you have right now. Start there. And then see things as they are, not worse. Then start to, where can I go from here? What's the first thing I can do right now to change things, to shift, and to let go? So nothing in life, Mary Curry, nothing in life is to be feared but to be understood. And this is why we're always pushing this idea too of don't get through it, get from it. Right? We don't want to get through our life. Because when you get through a challenge, say if I get through, and I've had other losses and challenges in the past, obviously. What if I just got through them, slugged my way through, dark, and again, I'm not telling you how to heal. This is my version, by the way. You can do it the way you want to do it. But what if I just got through this? Just drag my way through this and go to that dark place, that slippery rabbit hole, and hung out there for a while and, get into a bottle or some other thing and medication and just get through it, numb it. Does that, will that make it the next time I go through? And by the way, I'll go through, hopefully not, nothing like I've gone through, but we'll go through some challenge. But the next time I go through it, it's going to be healthier. Let's put it that way. Because of how you went through the one you went through. So, anyways, in summary, I think from what Ray has, given us and so on, how to not suffer regret is to, first of all, looking back at the things you did, how you did the best you could with what you had at the time. So there's no regrets. You did the best you could with what you had. Now, what other tools can you develop to help get you through the next thing? And so on. And so from there, how can you see things as they are? Look at your present situation, see it as it is, not worse. Because everyone's going through something. Now, see it better than you want it to be. See yourself losing the weight. See yourself gaining the money. See yourself in the relationship. And then now go and put it into play. With my son, with regret. I live present in the moment. And I go back to the podcast, we talked about it a few times, and go back to the podcast I did way back called You're One Decision Away. I always knew I was one decision away, one thing, and I was very mindful of my words and very intentional in the moment. Yeah, so that's what I would say is remembering and keeping your values in front of you. Remembering what your values are. Family is one of my top values. So if it is, I gotta respect that. And there's no way. If I didn't respect my values, then I think I'd be living with regret. So I think I'm gonna pass the mic and let Ray share some of that.
Yeah, there's so much in what you said, Alvin. One that particularly hit home for me. And a few weeks back, we were talking about systems, for
Mm-hmm.
instance. Okay, is that I am aiming at mountaintops. Okay, very intentionally, um, and attacking that. And all throughout that time, it's exactly from your words you said, enjoy what you have in front of you while you're aiming for the mountaintop. So always be grateful and happy. Have a beautiful life. And I have to remind myself uh, to be grateful at that every single day while aiming at the mountaintop. I do that through journaling, you know. I do that. So incorporate the little guys. It's really funny, Alvin. They got, luchador masks.
No, is that the
You know
wrestler?
the no, yeah, to show Alvin, you'll see. You see
Oh
the
yeah, exactly.
and
The
even
Mexican, is that a Mexican wrestling?
exactly,
Exactly, yeah,
exactly.
yeah,
So they
yeah,
think it's really funny. How
yeah.
you even
There you
got
go.
the little guy.
For those who are listening, they've got those. I don't know if you ever seen Mexican wrestlers back in the day. That's what
Yeah.
the kids are wearing now, so I love it. Love it.
So that's why they're laughing. Mon va essayer
Yeah.
d'être silencieux un peu.
I've got a picture that I show often with my kids and I wrestling too,
Oh yeah.
when they were very young. Yeah. So yeah, I love it.
Yeah,
Oh,
man. So
hey
hello.
buddy. We're Ray's if you're listening, Ray's brought his kids on his two boys online here. So if you're watching, you can see them cute. Hey
Yeah,
guys.
exactly.
Mhm.
Yeah, so systems to make sure you're grateful and make sure, as exactly as you said, you see things as they are. Okay. You see things as they are, but then there's something else. It's making them better,
Mhm.
making them better. So we have the ability to make them even better. Let's not forget that. And right before we started the call, you see that this streamlines perfectly into where we're going.
Mhm.
Okay. Wherever you are right now, however hard you may think it is, or however far the the mountaintop may be. Sorry about that, guys. Uh, if you can't run, you can crawl, you know,
Yep.
you can crawl. And once you know how to crawl, you can walk. And then ultimately you can run, you can climb, but there's always something that you can do in the moment to make things a little bit better. If not for yourself, for others, and ultimately for the world, in my opinion. Because when we contribute in whatever way, something special happens. Okay. Something special happens in us and in the environment all around us. And it creates that momentum. And as we know, Alvin, the thing about momentum, okay, is that once it's going at a certain rate, okay, at a certain speed, it's very difficult to stop. You know, life is going to happen just like it does every single day, just like it did for you. But you always talk about being consistent, not perfect, consistent. And what does being consistent do? Well, it creates momentum. Okay. And that momentum that's been picking up speed over time changes you, changes the environment around you, changes the expectations even around you and for everybody else. And ultimately, gives you a different perspective in whatever outcome comes. But no matter what's gonna happen, tomorrow I'm gonna try to crawl. I'm gonna take one step forward. I'm gonna run. I'm gonna climb. And in that way, things will get better. Okay. Um, Going back to the 4x4x48, okay, that you ran
Mhm.
recently. You've never done anything like that in your life, I believe. Not when you were younger either.
Mm-mm.
right?
Mm-mm.
So, and you didn't necessarily did that for yourself. It wasn't for yourself, you know.
Yep.
It's for something bigger. It's making things better ultimately. So that's really what I want to leave people with right now, and that I'm taking for myself also, is that focus on understanding, not just seeing things, but truly trying to understand it. Wait, no, no. Sorry, they're trying to put the luchador mask on my face.
Yeah.
So to really understand them, so that you can see them as they are, and then take a step forward every single day, whatever it is, even how small it could be, but take one to make things better, and they will ultimately get better, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And with that, I'll pass the mic.
Yes. And put the mask on. All right. So great. So Ray brought up a few things about um crawl, walk, and run, the building momentum. So no matter where you are right now, no matter where you are, dark place or crawling is literally putting one, it's a basic move that you can do. What's the basic move you can do? Knee, go on your knee, one arm in front of the other, one foot, one knee, one arm, move. Start moving. Start moving. Momentum, build it, move. Then there's the walk, the coming up from the knee to the feet, and there's the walk. And then there's the run at some point. But all of that takes time. Ray has his boys there now, and I had my kids, and so on, so on. Ray didn't rush either of them. Come on, son. Enough of this crawling. It's too slow. Let's go. Let's get you walking. Let's get you running here. No, it's time in their own time. I'm sure both boys walked a little later, some earlier, and so on and so on. So my kids too. So take your time. Time. There's no comparison to who walked faster, who. Someone online when they sent me a message. His father just died of cancer. And he said, Alvin, you're a better man than me. And I had to laugh at that because I didn't know I was in a competition with him. I do it differently. I never once thought, oh, let me go online and show everybody how strong I am. Never. I just did it in my own time. I didn't. And it took me about a month to announce it, you know, and I wasn't going to announce my son um, till I was ready. But this is what brought me out. I was about to do that run that Ray mentioned, which we'll talk about in another podcast. My experience with that run. Um, we uh, I was going to do a fundraising because I did decide to do that last minute. So for me now to gain to ask for contributions to that run, I had to announce. I can't just come right out and go, "Hey, here's a fund for my son." What happened to your son? I couldn't, it would become out of left field. So I had to make a formal announcement about my son. So that experience made me vulnerable and brought it out at the right time. So when everyone's saying, "Oh, it's so brave, you're better," no, it's just because the timing was right for me to do that, and the moment was right. So I crawled and I got up and walked. I'm not running yet, but I walked. And what you say is a walk, me coming out and telling people it's a walk. But it's my walk at my own time. So I'm not comparing, I didn't post to let people say how strong I am. No, it's on my own time. And Ray mentioned momentum, building momentum with each crawl, each run, each walk. Momentum is that compound interest. If you ever see how that works, it starts real slow. and then compound, compound, compound. Next you know, it's you can't stop this thing. It's just compounding on each other, multiplying, infinitely, just multiplying, and so almost becomes unstoppable because of the compound. And then consistency. Ray mentioned consistency, which is my next book. It's the four pillars, one of the four pillars. You could be consistent in doing the wrong thing. Some people are consistently getting themselves in trouble. But the thing is to stop and investigate. Is what I'm doing moving me in the right direction for me? So every so often stop and go, is it moving me in the right direction? Because what you're looking for is progress and not perfection. All right. You're not looking to be I'm not out here trying to be perfect. I'm out here trying to progress. I want to be a better version of Alvin next year than I am this year. And that I was 20, 30, 40 years ago. And I believe I am. But there's lots of work to do, and I'll work till the day I die. Because it's not about perfect. There is no perfect human. It's progress, though. If you see me next year, you'll say, wow, you've grown. Listen to these podcasts. Go back and listen. There's some growth. And this experience I'm going through with my son will make me grow again. It's making me more vulnerable to talk about things that I would not usually. Again, for his cause, I'm being vulnerable. So I can raise. He wanted. His goal was being of service. He wanted his life to make someone else's better. So we're taking that baton. My family and I are taking that baton. We're running with it, and we're gonna complete his mission. Is to make an impact, at least one person. And I hope this podcast does that too, for somebody who's living in grief, the dark side of grief. That keeps them stuck. So, one of the things I wrote here for myself is I made some bets in order to be where I am today, to be in the space I am today with my son and so forth. Years ago, decisions. Here's the bets. I work 7 minutes from home. I could work 40 minutes or so from home. And I could have aimed for traveling on a team because I envisioned this thing of my ego said, yes, work with athletes in your profession and people with money, and they'll hop, skip, jump, and you'll be famous and you'll be. But then I made a decision. When the years passed, decades passed, and it's all done, will I see that football game again? Will I see that dance recital? Will I see that? No. So I'm going to lay my bet here that I'm going to choose that value over this value, my ego. And the bet was a good one. The bet was a good one because now I won't get that football game again or the whatever again or those bets were made and placed and they paid off. So, what do you want to bet on now? Which one's more important? Because everything's about that decision, placing that bet, the odds, playing the odds, right? So if I didn't make that, that ego-driven move, which I could have, oh yeah, I could have got the money, I could have got the fame, a little bit notoriety, ego boost. Where would I be now? Make that bet. So, anyways, that's the way I'm now living without that regret because I made that bet. So, anyways, I'm gonna pass it back to Ray for the last word here as we begin to wrap this up. And Ray.
The thing about ego, Alvin, also, is that there's a part of ego. Ego is centered on self, generally,
Mm-hmm.
but there's a part of it that's mostly focused on how we'll be perceived by others. Okay,
Mhm.
by others. So when we make certain decisions, there's part of it for us, but there's part of it also for, okay, let me look like I should look in order to look good uh, by others. Okay.
Mhm.
And my final word with this will be something that I've read last week, I believe. And it said, you don't have to be like anyone else. So don't try to be like anyone else. Okay. We're all humans in the end. Okay. There are things that connect us, but we're all unique in our own way, in the way that we approach loss, in the way that we decide to live our lives, in the way that we want to contribute, and our gifts and all of that. Okay, so it's great to be inspired by others who are doing something that we like, okay, or that we aspire to, but trying to do absolutely everything that they do and being absolutely everything that they are can be a bit of a disservice to the uniqueness of ourselves and our experience and our lives, right? So take here and there, but remember to be you. And one great way that this was explained in a book, it's called The Fearless Life. Okay, The Fearless Life. I'm reading right now. It said that when you go to a mountaintop or when you go see the ocean, every time you look at nature, it is never not beautiful. You can look at it 1,000 times and it's as beautiful and as unique, and you're in awe 1,000 times. I'll just leave us all with this is we are also part of that nature. Okay. And when we can see us as we are, we can also see this beauty and uniqueness in us, uh, no matter how many times you look at it.
Mhm.
So when you look at it that way, you can be you. And once you learn how to value you, man, life gets a lot more colorful and beautiful, and it's yours, and it's yours
Mhm.
ultimately. So this is my final words, really, and how I would pass the mic is make sure your life is yours and it looks like you, and and you contribute and do great things for the world in a way that only you can. And if people tell you you should be a certain way or grieve a certain way, well, that's their perspective, but it's your life, you
Mhm.
know.
Amen.
And with that, I'll pass the mic.
Amen. And as easy as what you just brought up there at the end is a tough it I find that to be a tough for a lot of people
Yeah.
is accepting who they are. Because in their mind, Brene Brown has a great way she put it, she said, guilt is saying I did something bad, while shame is I am bad.
Yeah.
And a lot of people suffer shame from a world, this is a whole other conversation, from a world that tells you to compare, actually. The world allows you to compare. And if you are religious, if you have a religious bent, you will struggle with deeply religious. You will struggle with guilt because every thought, almost every thought and everything you do, it's very difficult to reach the purity that is espoused in these teachings sometimes because you always feel like a sinner. And so you never really get to that place where you're not a sinner. And that leads to shame. A sin leads to shame. And we forget we're humans. And to err is to be human, and to forgive is to be divine. And so a lot of people when you ask them that question, love on themselves, it's tough because they're struggling with this false sense of shame that I am bad. I did this. I looked this person. I did this thing. I took this from there. I did. So it's a difficult one to to look cleanly at themselves because they're just give yourself some latitude and realize that you are human. And there's a lot of us who are quote unquote sinners out there, um, no better than you. So, with that though, that's a whole other conversation.
Yeah.
And I think that's how we live the fearless life is to again see things as they are. You're human, not worse than you are. Okay, get rid of that shame and see yourself better than you are right now and aim for that. So, with that, that's a great way to jump out of this because there's a rabbit hole we could go down here.
Mhm.
So, so the whole idea, to wrap it up, the whole idea is getting through grief pleasantly. You're not gonna just get through grief. It's a part of normal healing, but it's to not go down that hole where you're there forever. And it's dark and it's murky and it doesn't serve you, doesn't serve the people around you, doesn't serve the world. Is to the things we brought up in this conversation. And again, we're open to you. Send us connect with us in the show notes and send us an email or anything. Disagree, debate. That's okay. That's what we're here for. We don't have the answers. We just want you to actually have something to think about and contemplate your own self. So, with that, the parting word for me is cleanse. That's
Mm.
coming to me. Cleanse your soul. Realize that you're human. Let go of this conversation of shame. It'll keep you trapped, and it's fake shame because there's nothing to be shamed about. It's just being human. As long as what you do doesn't harm others and intentionally harm others, um, then it's free. You can fix that. So cleanse your soul, cleanse your mind, cleanse your body. Be gentle with yourself. You are human.
Yeah, love it. I'll go with be. Simply be.
Mm-hmm.
Right here, right now. Let go. Okay, just be. Show up
Yeah.
as you are. Look into yourself. Look around you. See yourself as you are. Just be.
Yep. As the wisdom goes, I'm gonna tag on to that with the wisdom that says, "Let go or be dragged."
Mm.
All right. So, all right, everyone. If you know someone who you have listened to this, and it sounds like something that's of value to someone you know, then or this could be a conversation starter for you and someone or your group. Share this podcast and let's build a community of people who believe in today's world of information but no wisdom.
Mm.
We're being we're it's almost like eating junk food, lots of food, abundant quote unquote food, but you're not nourished. So let's nourish the soul. With that, have a great week. Have a do a lot of introspection journaling. It'll just make us so happy if you take what we did and journal on it. So that'll be amazing. And join the group, join the community, share, like, subscribe. And with that, we will leave with this. We always wish you peace, a whole lot of love with a sprinkle of soul. All right. All right, everybody, we're out. Have a great week, everyone. And we'll talk to you on the next episode.